Oh, man, I'd really rather not be disturbed, but here's the theme. Hello there, I'm Peter Schickele, and this is Schickele Mix, a program dedicated to the proposition that all musics are created equal. Or as Duke Ellington put it, if it sounds good, it is good. But you knew that. Our bills are paid by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by this radio station, within whose walls I usually do the show and whence the show is distributed by PRI, Public Radio International. The reason I say usually is that we're doing a Schickele Mix first this time. I'm doing the whole show on location, as you can probably tell. We've gone on location before for specific things, like the time I went to England to get just the right choral group to sing a brief musical excerpt. But this is the first time the whole program has been done on location. And what a location. I'm here in the Wigglesworth Gardens, about 10 miles out of town. I don't know if you know about this place, but if you don't, you should. It is so beautiful and so peaceful here. The Wigglesworths were a wealthy English family that used to raise thoroughbred horses here. But at one point, their youngest daughter got into some kind of trouble, romantic-type trouble, I think it was. Maybe she was the inspiration for the old vaudeville joke. She was only a jockey's daughter, but all the horse manure. Well, anyway, the Wigglesworths decided to give this place up and move back to England. But they donated these beautiful gardens to the city to use as a park. I read about a study recently which proved what most of us would have guessed anyway, namely that it's a worldwide phenomenon. The bigger the city, the faster the pace. And if you find yourself running in the rat race with no finish line in sight, a place like this can be a real escape, a real time out. Or if there's a botanical garden in your city, it can be a real oasis. My parents lived in Rome for 11 years, and the Protestant cemetery in Rome was such an oasis. It was quite extensive and had lots of trees, so that even in the summer, it was cool and quiet. Those of us who live in the country, or who are lucky enough to have country places, can enjoy this special kind of solitude often. It's not total solitude. It's not like meditating in an unfurnished, well-sound insulated room. I suppose in those surroundings you can really get into yourself and beyond, unless you end up climbing the walls. But it seems to me that being in the country on a beautiful summer day is the wild equivalent of sitting in a sidewalk cafe in the city. In the cafe, you're solitary, but surrounded by traffic and endlessly interesting people. Whereas in the country, you're solitary, but also surrounded by intense activity. Some of it due to birds and breezes, but most of it due to the activities of insects. And that's why we're doing today's show here. It's one of our insect shows. On others, we've dealt with insects, and I use the term loosely, that people tend to have some negative feelings about living with. Fleas, cockroaches, lice. But today we're going to hear from good old garden variety insects, or as a studio musician might call them, your standard B-flat bugs. Such as butterflies. Our butterfly suite has 3 numbers, and they all have butterfly in the title, but I'd like to say something about the last 2. The second number in the suite is the only musical work that I happen to know of which endeavors to depict the transformation of a caterpillar into a butterfly. And the last number, just in case there's anyone out there who has the program music equivalent of perfect pitch, the last number has not only butterflies, but also hummingbirds in the title. Just wanted to make sure you don't get confused. Although, fortunately, I don't have a phone out here in the garden, so even if I hadn't announced that, you wouldn't be able to call me up and say, "Hey, how about a little truth in labeling here? That place about 27 seconds into the piece, that's no butterfly, that's a hummingbird, or my name isn't J.J. Audubon." Just take it easy. Relax. I'll be back in about 6.5 minutes.
The caterpillar knoweth not that he a fleet-winged butterfly will some day be, nor doth the bounding butterfly recall his lowly childhood when he could but crawl. By what strange alchemy do nature's sighs turn caterpillars into butterflies?
Great ending. Our butterfly suite began with the Papillon movement of Schumann's Carnaval, played by Anton Querti. Then we heard the butterfly movement from Bestiary, played by Calliope and composed, as I expect you guessed, by the narrator, whose name, by a remarkable coincidence, is Peter Schickele. Now, it's too bad you couldn't see that piece being performed. At the end of each section, each of the three wind players passes his instrument to his right and receives another from his left, so that the gradual change from the large earthbound sackbuts or trombones through the mid-range crumhorns to the small airborne recorders is perceived through the eyes as well as through the ears. Then that delicious last piece was number 5 of the 12 new etudes for piano by William Balcom, performed by Marc-André Hamelin, or Hamelin, I'm not sure which it is, but he sure can play, that much I know. By the way, I suppose, talking about truth in labeling, that I really ought to mention that the narration texts and the occasional sung lyrics in my work, Bestiary, come from various medieval and Renaissance sources, 12th to 17th century writers, but I do have a bit of a confession to make. Now, this is just between you and me, okay? Please don't tell anybody. As a matter of fact, if you're not alone, turn the radio down so that the people around you won't hear. Now, I'm not saying that I spent years combing every library I could get to or anything like that, but I did look through a lot of poetry collections, and I just could not find any old poems in English about caterpillars turning into butterflies. I would have thought that that transformation would have been used as a metaphor all over the place, but no, at least not in the poems I looked at. Now, all the other pieces in Bestiary have verbal setups. I didn't want the members of the audience to have to follow their printed programs. So what I did was, well, I wrote the poem myself. The author is listed as anonymous, but enough said. Our little secret, okay? If anyone asks you, as will almost certainly happen, who wrote the butterfly section of that beautiful piece, Bestiary, just say, ah, yes, the music is by Peter Schickele, host of Schickele Mix from PRI, Public Radio International. In very dramatic landscapes, like the Grand Canyon or the coast of Maine, high noon is often not the best time for sightseeing, because there are no shadows to speak of. Early in the morning or late in the afternoon, you can see the contours of the land much better. But at our little place in upstate New York, noon on a peerless summer day can be absolutely magical. Most of the birds are resting. There's usually little or no wind. Sometimes it feels supernaturally still. I don't think I'm ever as serenely relaxed as I am at those times. It's as if everybody and everything is chilling out. Except the insects. No rest for the many-legged. Today's show is called Your Standard B-Flat Bugs, and I'm broadcasting from the lovely Wigglesworth Gardens outside of town, which are open a very generous number of hours each day and which have graciously allowed me to set up my equipment here so that we can be close to the subject of our program. Okay, now I just said no rest for the many-legged, but strictly speaking, that's not true. Now that they've developed such sophisticated ways of tracking even the smallest animals, it turns out that if you actually follow one ant throughout the day, he has periods of rest, just like other animals. The reason that an anthill looks like Grand Central Station at rush hour is that there are so many ants, and, since they're not members of the same race as ours, they all look alike. Our ant suite has 3 numbers. The first is a reflection on an individual ant's position in ant society, and by extension, that of each of us in ours. The second is an instrumental piece called Entrance of the Ants. It's part of a ballet score. And the third is a song that's in English, but it goes by so fast that I'd better give you the title. It's called Aunt Sue's Ant Soup. I'll see you in about 10.5 minutes.
just realized today is the second Sunday of July. And that can only mean one thing. The family's expecting me for supper, and as soon as I love, she's quite a ding-a-ling. I wonder what concoction she'll whip up for us. Maybe some fur balls too. Nothing could compare to last year's lovely little dish when we all ate at Susan's soup. She's got lots of charm. She's great at the ant farm. The neighborhood is sex has plenty of reason to be alarmed. The cream crocks, I ain't fooling, she loves that bouillon. Dad says that her mind is on vacation. She does it with taste, nothing goes to waste. There's critters and hair all over the place, resulting in a lack of sanitation.
Is that it?
No.
Oh.
Today is the second Sunday of July. That can only mean one thing. The family's expecting me for supper, and as soon as I love, she's quite.
Have some more, darling.
She's got lots of charm. She's shaking the farm. The neighborhood and sex have plenty of reason to be
Hey, Aunt Sue, where's your little dog, Ginger? Oh, the little fella had spiced every meal.
Hey, Aunt Sue, where's Uncle Stu?
Oh, he's cooking something.
She's such a sweetie, but still kind of creepy. She's my Aunt Sue. We really mean it. Na 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 so na 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 na. Oh yeah. Doodle doodle ba da 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 da. The house what's got you? Dink dink.
That's blend your chain and
Dink dink.
Is that it? I guess so. The Ant Suite began with An Ant Alone, one of the songs from a theatrical production called The Warrior Ant. Words by Lee Breuer, music by Bob Telson, who leads the instrumental group Little Village. The lead vocalist was Sam Butler. Then came the entrance of the Ants from The Spider's Banquet, symphonic fragments by Albert Roussel. That was André Cluton conducting the, this is one of those mile-long orchestra names. Orchestre de la Société des Concerts du Conservatoire de la Crème de la Plume de Montant du Pain de Pas du Tout de Facto Des Moines. Really makes you appreciate that rock group called The Band, doesn't it? Anyway, last was Aunt Sue's Ant Soup by the Blenders, which of course I really had to put last in the suite because it has that incredible ending to end all endings. Well, I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it again. It's hard to think of any area of human endeavor or interest that hasn't been treated musically. Who would have thought that I would be able, and quite easily at that, to put together our next suite? I'm not even going to tell you what it's about. It's got 3 numbers, and... What is that? Oh, man. The caretaker here at Wigglesworth Gardens has moved the sprinkler. Oh, brother. I'd better put my jacket over the CD player and the remote mixer here, and I should go over and see if I can... Oh, no, here it comes again. Tell you what, I'm going to start the suite, and while you're listening to it, I'll see about getting the sprinkler moved back. I'm sure that won't take more than 8.5 minutes. Here, let me reach under my jacket and find the mic volume. Okay. Okay, folks, here's one of our more unusual suites.
There's a new sound, the newest sound around, the strangest sound that you have ever heard. Not like a wild boar or a jungle lion's roar. It isn't like the cry of any bird. But there's a new sound, it's deep down in the ground, and everyone who listens to it squirms, because this new sound, so deep down in the ground, is the sound that's made by worms. There's a new sound, the newest sound around, the strangest sound that you have ever heard. Not like a wild boar or a jungle lion's roar. It isn't like the cry of any bird. But there's a new sound, it's deep down in the ground, and everyone who listens to it squirms, because this new sound, so deep down in the ground, is the sound that's made by worms. There's a new sound, the newest sound around, the strangest sound that you have ever heard. Not like a wild boar or a jungle lion's roar. It isn't like the cry of any bird. But there's a new sound, it's deep down in the ground, and everyone who listens to it squirms, because this new sound, so deep down in the ground, is the sound that's made by worms. There's a new sound, the newest sound around, the strangest sound that you have ever heard. Not like a wild boar or a jungle lion's roar. It isn't like the cry of any bird. But there's a new sound, it's deep down in the ground, and everyone who listens to it squirms, because this new sound, so deep down in the ground, is the sound that's made by worms. There's a new sound, the newest sound around, the strangest sound that you have ever heard. Not like a wild boar or a jungle lion's roar. It isn't like the cry of any bird. But there's a new sound, it's deep down in the ground, and everyone who listens to it squirms, because this new sound, so deep down in the ground, is the sound that's made by worms.
Two and two are four, 4 and 4 are 8, 8 and 8 are 16, 16 and 16 are 30.
2 and 2 are 4, 4 and 4 are 8. That's all you have on your business like mine. 2 and 2 are 4, 4 and 4 are 8. How can you be so blind?
16 are 32.
Inchworm, measuring the marigolds. You and your arithmetic, you'll probably go far. Inchworm, measuring the marigolds. Seems to me you'd stop and see how beautiful they are. probably go far. Inchworm, measuring the marigolds. Seems to me you'd stop and see how beautiful they are.
2 and 2 are 4. 4 and 4 are 8. 8 and 8 are 16. 16 and 16 are 32. When the night falls silently, the night falls silently on forests dreaming. Lovers wonderful to see, they wonderful to see the bright stars gleaming. And lest they should lose their way, lest they should lose their way, the glowworms nightly light their tiny lanterns gay, their tiny lanterns gay, and twinkle brightly. Here and there and everywhere through mossy dell and hollow.
Hello.
Hello.
Floating, gliding through the air, they call on us to follow. Shine, little glowworm, glimmer. Shine, little glowworm, glimmer. Lead us lest too far we wander. Love's sweet voice is calling yonder. For you know what? Shine, little glowworm, glimmer. Shine, little glowworm, glimmer. Light the path below. You take it, girl. And lead us on till dawn. Turn the page, you fathead! And lead us on to
Okay, the sprinkler's been moved over by the topiary section, and the equipment seems to be functioning perfectly well. So let me tell you about the Worm Suite. First, and certainly strangest, was Tony Borello with There's a New Sound. That's off a certifiably weird compilation CD called Only in America on the ARF ARF label. Exclamation point after each of those ARFs. Then we heard Frank Lesser and his first wife Lynn Lesser singing The Inchworm, which he wrote for the movie Hans Christian Andersen. I guess this was like some kind of a demo, but I love Lesser's songs and I love the way he sings them. He's obviously not a trained singer, identify, but he puts the songs across in such a simple but engaging manner. Some nice bassoon licks in that arrangement, too. And finally, the suite ended with Spike Jones' version of The Glowworm, with Eileen Carlisle, Red Ingle, and the City Slickers. some good jug tone notes on the trombone there. I guess that was a Mills Brothers song originally, but I couldn't lay my hands on a recording of them doing it. I think maybe the serious version would have been more appropriate to our bucolic setting here. I'm telling you, you sit in a beautiful garden like this, you almost forget who you are. But not quite. I can remember something about Peter Schickele and Schickele Mix and PRI, Public Radio International. We're coming to you today from the Wigglesworth Gardens outside the city. And I've been thinking about the notorious piece by John Cage called 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Basically, it consists of the performer coming out on stage, sitting or standing there for 4 minutes and 33 seconds without making a sound, and then leaving the stage. It was premiered by the pianist David Tudor, but it can be played by any instrument. Now, of course, it's very easy to make fun of that piece. There's no music in it, and yet it's published. It's licensed by ASCAP, and you have to pay for it. I was at a percussion concert once, and one of the musicians said, "We're going to play John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds simultaneously with the next work on the program." Or somebody says, "He did Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and I thought he really played it well, except for the last part." But I've talked to a couple of people who are mainstream-type musicians who say they've heard it performed and found it fascinating. Because what Cage believed was that all sounds are interesting. And what that piece does is to set up the kind of concentration we give to music at a live concert, and then focus that concentration on the ambient sound in the hall. When I went to Swarthmore College, they had a convocation every week at which attendance was compulsory. And it began with a minute of silence, a vestige of the college's Quaker background. I always found it moving to be one of 1,000 silent people in one room. You were very aware of the ambient sounds around you, and it wasn't the same as if you were in there by yourself. Even if everybody else were completely silent, their presence would cause an emotional hum in the room. I mentioned the Cage piece today because I recently found out that it was premiered at the Maverick in Woodstock, New York, which is sort of like a miniature homemade Tanglewood. It's a shed with a couple of hundred seats in it, and the whole back wall is open to the outside, where there are more seats. It's outside of town in a forest, so what the audience at that premiere was hearing was probably very much like what we're hearing right now in these gardens. How long has it been since you've sat someplace with a beautiful view and concentrated not on what you see, but what you hear? Today's lesson is, listen for the insects. I'm sitting in the sort of central plaza of the formal gardens here, and in the last 45 minutes or so, I've seen a ladybug, a cricket, a beetle, and several dragonflies. The dragonflies got so close I could hear them. And by an astonishingly delightful coincidence, our last suite deals with just those denizens of the garden. We've got 3 foreign languages coming up here, so I'll read the texts. The first is, "Ladybird, ladybird, sit on my hand. I won't do you any harm. Nothing shall harm you. I just want to see your pretty wings. Your pretty wings are my delight. Ladybird, ladybird, fly away home. Your house is on fire. Your children are crying in alarm, in great alarm. The wicked spider's spinning his web. Ladybird, ladybird, fly inside, for your children in alarm do cry. Ladybird, ladybird, fly away to the neighbor's children. They won't do you any harm. Nothing shall harm you. They want to see your pretty wings. Give them both my love." And the second one goes like this. "The cricket is a good singer who holds a long note. Go ahead, drink and sing, cricket. But he is not like the other birds who sing a little and then go elsewhere. The cricket always stands firm. When it is hottest, he sings alone for love." In that number, you'll hear not only rhythms imitating the crickets, but also rapid alternation between different parts, imitating the virtuoso antiphonal technique of crickets. Then the third piece is called The Beetle. "Nanny, dear Nanny, think how awful. Let me tell you. On the grass I sat while playing by the arbor near the beeches, busy building such a pretty house of maple with the pieces Mummy dear herself has cut me. Finished was my little cottage, with a roof on, like a proper cottage. Then there came a beetle and sat on my roof, a big black one, thick and fat. Oh, so fat. His beard started wagging up and down, his wicked eyes fixed upon me. I was terrified. And then he buzzed loudly, spread his wings wide open, and flew towards me quickly. And with a bound he hit me on my temple, so I bent down, oh, Nanny dear, sat still and hardly dared to breathe. One little peep I gave out of my eyes, and fancy, what do you think, Nanny? On his back there lay the beetle, held both feet together folded, no longer angry, and his beard had ceased to waggle. No buzz left in him, just his wings could move a bit. Was he dead then, or only foxing? What was he up to? Oh, tell me, Nanny, what's your opinion? A blow he gave me, perhaps his last one. What was he up to, that beetle? And finally, the fourth and last piece, Dragonflies, is instrumental. Today's show is called Your Standard B-Flat Bugs, and our last suite deals with 4 of them, ladybug, cricket, beetle, dragonfly, that I've seen right here in the central plaza of the gardens. So we've had a butterfly suite, an ant suite, and a worm suite. Let's call this one Plaza Suite. I'll see you in 8.5 minutes.
няня, нянюшка, что случилось, не надушенька. Я играл там на решетке, за присеткой гребережки. Строит домик из лучиночек кленовых, чек, что мне мама, сама мама начепала. Домик усопцем построен, домик с крыской, настоящий домик. Вдруг на самой крышке жук сидит, огромный черный, толстый такой. Усами шипеет, страшно так, и про меня все смотрит. Испугался я, а жук гудит, злится, крылья растопырил, схватить меня хочет. И налетел визочек, меня ударил. Я притаился, нянюшка, присел, боюсь, пошевельнуться. Только грожок один чуть окрыл. И что же? Послушай, нянюшка. Жук лежит в ложице, легкий пятном аптеком без пенды. И ус не злится, и усами не шевелит, и не гудит уж, только крылышки дрожат. Что же он умер и притворился? Что же это, что же? Скажи мне, няня, жуком досталось. Меня ударил, а сам свалился. Что же это с ним сталось? Жуком-то?
The composers in the Plaza Suite were Schumann, Josquin, Mussorgsky, and Chaminade. Schumann's Marienwürmchen, which means ladybird, is from the Songbook for Children, Opus 79, and it was sung by Margaret Price, accompanied by Thomas Dewey. Not the same Thomas Dewey, I assume, who famously didn't beat Harry Truman in the 1948 presidential election. Next, El Grillo, or the Cricket, was performed by the Hilliard Ensemble on a CD of motets and songs by Josquin de Prez. Mussorgsky's The Beetle was sung by Aga Haugland with Paul Rosenbaum at the piano. And Cécile Chaminade's Dragonflies was performed by the pianist Enid Catan. Listen for the insects. And these gardens are a great place to do it. Just to emphasize the cyclical nature of life, let's go out with the same insect we came in with. In general, that's a good policy, whether it's a lady or a bug. The Dance of the Butterfly is another section of Roussel's ballet score, The Spider's Banquet. In fact, it's the section immediately following the entrance of the ants, which we heard earlier. The conductor is André Cluiton, and the orchestra, I'll give you just the facts this time, is the Orchestre de la Société des Concerts du Conservatoire. Enjoy, and get out there and listen to the insects while you can. Remember, to a mountain, our lives are no longer than a mayfly's is to us. And that's Schickele Mix for this week. Our program is made possible with funds provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by this radio station and its members. Thank you, members. And not only that, our program is distributed by PRI, Public Radio International. We'll tell you in a moment how you can get an official playlist of all the music on today's program with album numbers and everything. Just refer to the program number, and this is program number 154. And this is Peter Schickele saying goodbye and reminding you that it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that certain je ne sais quoi. You're looking good. See you next week. If you'd like a copy of that playlist I mentioned, send a stamped self-addressed envelope to Schickele Mix. That's Schickele, Schickele Mix, care of Public Radio International, 100 North 6th Street, Suite 900A, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55403.
PRI, Public Radio International.